What is up, y'all? Dubs Mind here. Welcome to another game preview video. Today is going to be against the Rockets, but I want to jump straight first into some news. So Brandon Ingram decided to fire his current agent, sign with Clutch Sports, and also there's reports of him coming that talk about him not wanting to be there because he wants to be in a winning culture. So those two news dropped, and the reason why I bring up this news, even though it's not directly related to the Warriors, is because Brandon Ingram has been a name that's been pretty thrown out there in terms of, you know, the caliber player for the Warriors. Also, I just saw the Vivid Seats part there on the top right, and it's like $37 for a ticket. That is insane. It's not like Houston's a horrible team. They're better than us. They're a really solid team. But man, I think it's with like Steph and Draymond being out, those tickets are really cheap. Holy. And I'm checking a Ticketmaster and it's even cheaper. It's like $23 tickets. God damn. But anyways, besides that point, yeah, like so I just brought it up because, you know, Warriors and Brandon Ingram tends to be in similar conversations together. And I was thinking whether or not would he be a good fit for the team. And watching the Deep League podcast, which is where I got all this information from, obviously go check out their podcast because they are just an amazing podcast. But they talked about the Warriors on that topic, and at first I thought it was going to be a pretty a good acquisition if we can get him to get that number 2 scorer that we really want, like a one that's really reliable. But then they talked about how the fit and where the way we play with everyone having to contribute to the, you know, playing time and playing well with one another, like setting screens, passing the ball around, playing solid defense, you know, doing rotations, stuff like that. They said that, you know, it doesn't really match up with what Brandon Ingram brings as a player. Obviously he's good at scoring, and I also kind of just agreed to that part because, you know, I just thought, you know, he's a good talented player. We could use his offense, but again, like I thought, you know, fit's always everything. So if he's not going to fit well, I just feel like we don't really need him. And also add on, I would be more on board with the trade to get him if it wasn't for Andrew Wiggins playing so good this season. Like, Andrew Wiggins has been on his peak level, if anything. I wouldn't say necessarily better than his all-star year, but it's getting there, especially since he's shooting a career high in 3-pointers this year. But yeah, like, if he wasn't playing as well, I would have probably said, you know, do that trade. It's pretty quick. But then if he's playing well, you gotta believe him in the starting lineup. How are you playing Brandon Ingram alongside him? Because that either means that Wiggins or Ingram plays the 2, and Wiggins played the 2 a lot, I think, this season when we were trying to figure out what matchups and lineups in the preseason, and didn't look that good. And I don't want Brandon Ingram playing on the 2 position. Like, defensively that would be really good, but in terms of just meshing well with one another, that wouldn't work out. And I just feel like what Wiggins and Ingram bring to the table is relatively redundant. I would say Wiggins is a better defender versus Ingram's a better scorer, but they are both a 2-way wing that can score plus defend. So I just feel like, because with Wiggins' performance for this season, I'm just fully out of that conversation. But I just want to bring it up. You know, it's always going to be a conversation brought up, and I wanted to sprinkle in some quick news. So let's just talk about the past game first. I'm not that mad at the Warriors. Honestly, I'm not mad at all. I genuinely believe to this day, despite whatever the other Warrior fans have to say about this game, it was just the refs. The refs just screwed us over. And it was just very obvious. There was a review that there's a challenge called that we did that should have been overturned because Looney got fouled, whoever got called for a foul, which was nowhere even close to being an actual foul. And he ended up fouling out the game. So if that review did get overturned, we would have him out there. And Looney was playing a very good defensive game against the Nuggets and Jokic. He had 11 rebounds too. So I just feel like that changed the momentum of everything, because that was such an obvious foul call that should have not gone their way. And then the end of the play, which everyone probably saw already, is the fact that Christian Brown on that loose ball at the very last possession with like, 3 seconds left in the quarter, call a timeout when they didn't have any. I remember when the Nuggets called the timeout to challenge a call, which they did get overturned, so ended up being a good challenge, but also they lost the timeout because it was their second challenge. And I thought to myself, like, oh damn, they only have 0 timeouts, that might come back to bite them. And it should have bite them in the back or their butt, whatever you want to call it, because of that timeout call. Like, that should have been a technical foul. We shoot a free throw, I think you get possession too, if I'm not mistaken. No, you don't get possession, but then you don't get to huddle up. You still have to inbound the ball, and they're without a timeout, so we can easily get like a 5-second call, and I think a free throw would have also at least made it like a 2-point game. I think, right? Because it ended up being a 4-point game, so 3-point game, whatever. I get that the very last timeout call, like that happening wouldn't have maybe changed the outcome, because then it would have been 116. Even if we hit a 3, then it goes overtime, we might have lost. But again, it was just so annoying to me seeing the refs just completely just botch everything when their sole job is just reffing the game. I mean, overall in terms of foul calling, I don't think they were terrible this game. It was just those last few, like that one review and that very last play that really just pissed me off that day. So, and the Warriors played well considering they didn't have Draymond, and they did do what I asked them to do, which is the reason why they were in the game and even had like a decent lead in the 4th. And people say, oh, we choked that lead in the 4th, so that's like the main problem. But ultimately, the refs took away so much momentum that everyone was pissed, and now they weren't making the shots that they usually would make in the 4th. And that's what I believe is the reason why we lost that game and lost that lead. Obviously, I'm not disagreeing fully with the fact that we don't have that consistent scorer besides Steph in the clutch or in close games to help score, but still, it was just not good. And Steph was very good in the first half, but as you can tell from the stats, he didn't have a good game at the end of it. Flirted with a triple-double, so it was pretty good, but, whatever. Wiggins was solid, as you can tell stats-wise. He was solid too, just he was very passive in a way in the last quarter. I mean, I think necessarily it was him being passive, it was just the team didn't pass him a lot, so not much people got many shots off. JK played an amazing game. He was one of the few reasons why we were in this game, / got a huge lead there at the end of the 4th. Same with Looney and Pods too. I don't get the Pods hate to this day still. First of all, he's a second-year player, so chill out on the hate. Everyone's gonna have a slump at some point in their careers, and he was the sole reason, alongside Kuminga, for the reason why we were in that game for the very first half, and then that 3rd quarter burst, or 4th quarter burst, actually, I forgot. But yeah, and yes, he missed 3 threes, and he had that terrible 3 plays in a row towards the end of the game, which definitely sucked. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not trying to hold off on criticism on that, because he, fouled fouled Michael Porter Jr. for a 4-point play, got a turnover and stuff like that. I mean, they include the missed 3 also as a bad play, but I mean, that 3 was wide open. It's a shot that you would usually want him to take, so I didn't really just care for that. But again, he shot very well. He made pretty much every single one of his mid-range shots. Like, he was a sniper from the mid-range. And I mean, yeah, I just didn't really see the hate for him this game. He only had 2 turnovers too. One was critical, of course, but just it was only 2 compared to Steph's 5. Why are we I feel like people don't talk about Steph when we criticize him at all, in terms of the turnovers. I mean, some people do when they watch the game because they are true fans, but I feel like some people just let him off too much. Him and Draymond both, they shouldn't be turning the ball over, considering the type of player they are and the caliber of player they are and how long they've been in the system. So that, 5 turnovers, obviously overall 15 turnovers, not the best, but not the worst, but just 5 turnovers from Steph is just, that kind of ruins his whole assist number too. It's just if you're turning the ball over 5 times, well, come on, man, come on. Again, defensively, I mean, Jokic played well, but I think until the 3rd quarter, or until that 4th quarter burst at the end, he wasn't playing that well of a game. He had his numbers, but if you watch the game, he didn't score the way he wanted to. He didn't get the shots that he wanted to. He kept on having to settle for, decently contested shots. He's gonna make them eventually because he is a superstar. So, I'm not trying to take away stuff from him. It's just you're playing a good defensive game against him until that 4th quarter. And Jamal Murray was off too. Like I said, he's not gonna be good. Russell Westbrook wasn't hitting threes. Everything was going well until the point I truly believe that ref screwed us over, because when he called that foul, we still had like an 8-point lead. The foul calls made the free throws into like a 6-4 point lead. It made it actually closer than what it should have been, because in my opinion, if we get that overturned, we get the ball back, we immediately go back down and we score, because our momentum isn't as ruined compared to if they miss the call, you know. So again, I don't want to harper on this game too much, but I want to focus on this one today, obviously. But yeah, that was just my opinions on it. So yeah, let's just get into the Rockets game. So we've got Tari Eason, Fred VanVleet. Tari Eason's fully out for sure. Fred VanVleet's going to be a game time decision, questionable. So I would assume he's not playing. He played pretty bad against us last time, so maybe I want him to play. I don't know, but and then yeah, Warriors, Curry's out, Draymond's out. Draymond's supposed to be back soon though. Yeah, he can't be cleared as early as tomorrow, so I'm like pretty much like gonna assume he's gonna be back tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but tomorrow, yeah, because the next game is tomorrow. We have a back-to-back. Steph is out. I do believe there's a good chance we win this game, because it's always these weird games where we don't have our stars that we actually just end up winning games, or we're at least in the game, especially if it's against an opponent that has a good record. So I can see it. I'm really hoping Wiggs plays. Obviously, he's a game time decision, also questionable. No information confirming that he's playing or not playing yet. It's 5:30, so an hour and 30 minutes before the game. Matchup predictor has us winning more than the Rockets, which is kind of weird, but also the matchup predictor has been right these past two games as we talked about it. So I mean, this game, if they're right about it again, we're winning, I guess. We're at home. That's good to be back home. I just want to snap the losing streak, because I don't know if I mentioned this in the video, but I just want to keep on winning. And if we're gonna lose, just lose in 1 game intervals. I don't want it to be streaks. At least if you're gonna lose one, just win the next game. Like, I just want that to be the trend. I don't want to have multiple games in a row where we lose. And then we could just check the Rockets info. I mean, we faced them once against them in overtime where we choked a 30-point lead and almost lost, but we ended up winning, so, you know, not gonna complain too much about it. Let's see, we got, so, best scorer on their team is Jalen Green. He's been pretty damn good this season. Pretty inefficient, though, but still pretty good. Alperen Sengun, you know, just a solid all-around. It's big. Fred VanVleet might not play, but, you know, just a vet-type player who does solid point guard duties. Dylan Brooks having a decent shooting numbers in terms of his three, not necessarily his field, like 2-pointers, but, you know, he's the defense guy. Jabari Smith Jr. is not producing as much, especially with someone like Tari Eason and Amin Thompson playing really well this season. And Jabari is kind of losing his spot a little bit. Like, he's starting the games, but if I'm mistaken, he's playing below his standards and been losing minutes a bit. Yeah. I mean, he played 40 minutes in this game, but you can tell it's like you start off the season and it was like, I'm gonna ignore that 16-minute outlier, but 8 games, like 30 minutes played per game, and then you have like these last few games. It's probably gonna be similar, but again, you can tell there's a lot more less than 30 minutes per game. Yeah, it's the same, but there's a lot more less than 30 minutes per game. But also, they've been winning, so this minutes itself might be skewed. But again, it's definitely a known fact that he's playing below his standards. So that's that. You got Amin Thompson, like I said, solid rook. Right? Or no, wait, was he? No, he's last year draft. Wait, was he this year? Now I'm confused. He is no, second year, not rook. Yes. And then Tari Eason, he's out, so it's just whatever. Reed Shepherd is the rookie. I haven't watched much Rockets besides when they played against us. I don't have much opinions, but Jesus, this drop off of points here. Look at this. I mean, they're doing well, so I'm not gonna say they're doing anything bad per se, but like they have like 7 players in double figures, and then the next player immediately just drops off to below 8 or 7, I guess. Yes, or below 6. I mean, Jesus Christ, like half of the next leading scorer like of the team. That's kind of insane. I've never, because usually teams tend to have a gradient of points, but in the Rockets case, it isn't. I don't have much of a game plan type thing to talk about like I have in the past, because the Rockets are a completely like young team, and I haven't watched their team as much to really focus on it or to know what to do against them. But I mean, they are not a great 3-point shooter. The only player you can really take from here that's actually a good 3-point shooter is probably Aaron Holiday, Dillon Brooks, but I think he might be an on and off player. Ignoring Jeff Green, because I'm ignoring players that don't have much attempts. I mean, Jeff Green's taking 1, but I mean, he's only played 7 games, so I'm ignoring that. I'm ignoring these two too, because they've only taken less than 1 3 per game. It's only really Aaron Holiday and Dillon Brooks. That's kind of wild. So you just want to kind of just, I guess, make sure your paint defense is good this game. If they're gonna take threes and just keep on launching them, and they're not gonna go inside, regardless of how much they're making, unless they're making like a godly amount of like threes, like where they're like 50%, even if they're at like 44%, 43%, which is good for a game, you still take that over them going inside the paint, in my opinion, at least. So you're trying to force them to shoot threes rather than going inside the paint. As you can tell, they don't have much great shooters on their team. Like Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet are taking 8-ish threes per game and are at 33 and 32%. That's pretty bad. So yeah, and then I guess, I mean, just try to handle Jalen Green scoring or Sengun scoring. Or X factor for them would probably be Jabari, maybe? In the sense that, like I said, he's been playing below standard, so there's a chance he might want to, you know, get a you know, bounce back game against us, maybe. So I guess I would just bring him as a name. For us, Wiggins if he's playing, JK if Wiggins is not playing. We just need more scoring. So if Kuminga is as good as he was yesterday, where he was very assertive, made the smart plays on pretty much every single possession where he touched the ball, I think if we get that Kuminga this game, and that now becomes a consistent trend, that'd be really good for him and the team, and we can potentially, you know, win this game. And then if Wiggins is playing, obviously it's kind of similar. Wiggins didn't get much touches towards the later half of the game, and he's playing such a good season, so I just want him to be more aggressive. Hopefully he plays. And yeah, I think I'll have them both as X factors, and one or the other, just depending on if Wiggins is playing or not. And yeah, that's about it for the Rockets one. There's just not much to talk about the Rockets, because again, I don't have as much of data on these players since they're so young of a team. So, you know, I've still talked about it, but just not as much as maybe some of these other teams that have more bets. But, you know, that's about it for me today. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.